For this newer series, I'm very happy to invite people from the Magic the Gathering community and unpack some of their favorite packs with them. Today I have the honor of introducing J-Ro, who is a judge that played in the Pro Tour because he knew the rules so well. He loves Unsummon, is a teacher, has a podcast called Coat of Arms and his own YouTube channel where he shares the good word of the Oathbreaker format. And here he also has a weekly Nuzlocke from Pokemon Crystal. Does he even have time for an interview, you might ask? Well, let's just say that we're lucky. Welcome, J-Ro, the Unsummoned Skull.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Same for me then.
Yeah, so you ask how I have time to do all these things. It's because I do them in series. So first off, I set aside certain time for certain things.
Right.
Second, I do them in series of either 5 weeks, 5-week mini series, or 10 weeks longer series. Kind of like television shows nowadays, where you can just binge watch a 10-week season and that's it.
Exactly.
So basically every 5 to 10 weeks I do things a little bit differently. I'm a statistics college professor. I am an ACT and SAT test tutor, and I teach.
Whoa, that's a lot.
So what I do is I have a 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game, Monday through Thursday. Thursday being the Oathbreaker day right now. And sometimes there are different themes, and I'm able to use those themes to create specialized series.
Right.
Like one of the series I have coming up is Around the Pie, because every Monday we do Monocolored Monday. We also get to show how many different things each color can do. So we have 4 different decks that are all mono green, but each one of them will take that color in a completely different direction. But the way that I don't drive myself nuts is I have set times put aside, and I have already recorded and stored all the VODs that I'm going to use for these YouTube series.
Right.
It's just a matter of uploading them, which doesn't take very long. Making the thumbnails, which are already made and just have to put the number on it, or in the case of Friday Pie Day, putting the fork in a different color.
Right. That's not too hard then, okay. So yeah, and also it's just so your tip for other content creators would be to have enough resources ready so that you don't have to be hasty with recording more.
Yeah, I would say you always want to have the thing to upload before the day to upload it, like pretty well in advance, like weeks ahead if you can. So before you go live, make sure that you have the material stored up so that you don't have to get under any kind of pressure.
Exactly. So, and you are also a judge. You have played in a Pro Tour. How actually did you get into Magic?
I am a teacher, and I got into Magic from a teacher.
Okay.
The recently retired Mr. Derek Day was one of the best teachers I've ever had. And what he would do is he had a gaming club. And the genesis of the gaming club was that some students were playing in his classroom, and he had to give them detention, had to have them come in a half hour early. And most teachers during that time would just do their normal setup stuff and use it as a study hall.
Okay.
But he had them teach him how to play, because if it was important to them, he wanted it to be important to him.
Okay.
And then he made the gaming club to give them a time when it was acceptable to do that, and said, don't do that in my class, don't do that in anyone else's class, but here's a time when it's okay to do that. And that was I wasn't the student, because I didn't play Magic yet. But the teacher was so cool that I just wanted to have something in common with him. So I bought a booster pack of Champions of Kamigawa, which is when I started. And I had no idea what any of the cards did. It actually had a Sensei's Divining Top in it as the uncommon, and I thought it was a junk card.
Oh yeah. Oh dear.
I still have it though.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah. Not getting rid of that. But it had a foil Kuro Pitlord, which I thought was awesome.
There's always these wrong valuations in a way.
Yeah. Well, the foil Kuro Pitlord became the keystone of my first decent deck, which was skeletons, and demons.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of how I got to some of the higher levels of Magic, that actually has to do with how I learned to play.
Mm-hmm.
So how I got into Magic was I wanted to have something in common with the coolest teacher I ever met, and
Right.
it wound up becoming something that became a huge part of my life. And when I became a teacher with my own classroom, I created my own gaming club. I became a judge and then a tournament operator as well. So I was able to host my own tournaments, have it register, have the school registered to do Friday Night Magics, had official prize support, ECI cards, all these cool things for the students. And I taught them how to play in a logical, sequential manner so that they could one day become as good as me, hopefully.
Okay, sure.
Maybe better. Each of my first 3 decks showed a different aspect of problem solving, which I think shows why I became such a good player and made it onto the Pro Tour. Most players, if they started with those situations, would either just stop playing or find some way to, or basically try to imitate the opponent. But I tried to find 3 different ways to attack that didn't involve what I didn't understand. So I would say to new players, just because there's a barrier to getting into Magic doesn't mean you can't think creatively and flexibly and find a way to do what you want to do.
Right.
Because I couldn't figure out how to attack on the ground, so I went to the air. And then I went to milling, and then I went to burning. If you're doing the same thing everyone else is doing, but they have other advantages, like a playtesting team, like a playtesting team, like any sort of like one-for-one advantages, or just more hours to put into it, you're going to be at a disadvantage.
Of course. So you need your advantage from somewhere else.
Yep, and I use my advantage, or I use deck building to my advantage. Quite a lot of the time, I've won not necessarily because I'm a superior player, but because I was attacking the format in a way people weren't expecting.
I have one more question before we go to our first pack, because everywhere, or well, the most communication that I see coming from your Twitter, from your YouTube, is about the card Unsummon. And of course, I'm really interested in that because you did name the Pit Lord, of course, as an important card, but why is Unsummon so important for you?
So, Unsummon is my favorite card, not because it's inherently powerful, but because it's a multi-use tool, and to me it represents the best of blue. So some people think of blue as a stifling color or a counterspelling color, basically a color that restricts what the opponents can do. To me, blue is about creativity and flexibility. It's about mixing and matching cards together to get them to do more than they could on their own. So getting back to the conversation of games clubs, one of the things I would do the first things I would do when players were just beginning, or one of the first activities of the school year, is we would do the color challenges.
Right.
Are you familiar with the Jumpstart product?
Yeah.
This was kind of a precursor to Jumpstart.
From you?
There were 20 from me.
Okay,
there were 20 card decks with 8 common creatures, 8 basic lands, and 4 common non-creature spells. It was kind of an introduction to limited with like half a deck. Because if you double those numbers to 16 land, 16 creature, 8 non-creature, that's a pretty good start for a limited deck, and they get to feel what that distribution feels like.
Right.
But each of those cards was something that represents a commonly used design in Magic. So Giant Growth, Unsummoned.
Right.
They got to feel what these iconic cards are like before they get to open a booster pack and see how those cards have been interpreted for the new set.
Cool. So, but about I really like that you first of all talked about Pit Lord being more interesting to you than Divining Top. I think that's really cool. Like people will have their own stories about cards, and that's what makes them more interesting. And also, Unsummon might seem really, maybe people would call it simple or something, but I think it's really cool that because of this simplicity, it is so flexible. So then it becomes complex again. I really like that story as well. But yeah, if you don't mind, let's dive into one of the first packs and see if we can find some interesting stuff there. Yeah, let's go. Let's start. Oh, by the way, yeah. So why did you choose 3 set boosters from Strixhaven, actually?
I chose Strixhaven because I'm a teacher.
Oh, right. So for the school theme.
Yep. So for the school theme, and also because as a teacher in a low socioeconomic status, high African American and Hispanic population school. So some of the cards, like this is one of the recent decks that I built, is Simone.
Right.
Because I really, she's one of my favorite commanders they've made recently. Not necessarily because she does anything all that new or interesting.
No.
She's actually kind of a typical Simon commander.
Yeah.
But because of what she represents, I want people to see themselves in the card.
To be represented.
A representation, that normalization of intelligence as a quality that is used for a variety of different people.
It's cool that that's one of your favorites, and cool that it fits you as well, these packs. So let's just begin with the first one.
There is an Inkling token.
Okay, cool. So usually I personally just go over those as well, but of course an Inkling, I don't know what you think about that, but
I've got an Inkling this is going to be a good set.
Okay, nice. All right.
I'm going to make terrible jokes.
That's great.
Dina. Dina is interesting. I've wanted to build around her before. This is not actually Dina, it's just the art card. I wanted to build around her before because I thought her ability was an interesting way to take green and black. Like what I wanted to do with Dina is of course different from what other people would do. I saw Dina and I thought, okay, drain life effects look like they'd be hilarious with it.
Right. Yeah. True. Nice. And so, who is this art from the island?
The island is Lucas Stadnik.
Okay. Cool. So, and this is, I think, Quandrix, right? Again, when we look at
probably that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Mythic Rare Mascot Exhibition.
All right, nice. Right, so that's the one that makes all the tokens, I think.
Yep.
Right, cool.
Spiteful Squad. I have brainstormed making a 0/0 tribal deck.
Okay, that could be cool. And how would that work? The 0/0 tribal?
Basically, every creature has 0 printed power and toughness. So they would all have abilities that add +1/+1 counters and stuff, but the creatures themselves would have no power. Yep. Right. Arrogant Poet.
Cool. So I've bashed the card before for being so arrogant and for costing the team life. What I think is interesting about Arrogant Poet is that it has the same stat line and sort of feel around it as the Inkling tokens. Right, so you can make it flying like an Inkling does, and it is still a 2/1, right? I think.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, so that's
it's actually worse than an Inkling token.
It's actually worse than an Inkling token, right? Yeah, I think.
All right. Next up is the Silver Quill Campus.
All right, really staying in theme for the Silver Quill Campus, I think. So we have 3 Silver Quill cards.
It's going to change though. Next card is Emergent Sequence.
All right,
which is Rampant Growth and Make a Guy, which is not bad.
Cool.
I always like to see more Rampant Growth effects.
So, yeah.
Oh, by the way, guess the next card is?
Inkling Summoning.
No.
Oh. I don't... Oh, it's Simone again? Really? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yep. So we've had the story about her already.
Yep.
But that's really cool. If you would talk to Simone, what would you ask her first?
If I were to talk with Simone, I would
Mhm.
want to listen. I would want to hear what she has to say, because I feel like that's something that isn't done enough, especially for people who are in the groups that she represents,
Mhm.
and people who have the intelligence that she apparently has.
Right.
I'm sure
Okay,
she
cool.
sees the world in ways that I would never dream of. And so I'd want to listen to her and hear what she has to say.
That's really cool. I think that would be an interesting situation. Maybe we would have to have her in our dimension sometime.
That would be awesome. So next up is, well, we were mentioning cards with her in the art, Decisive Denial, counter spell or fight spell.
Oh,
It's
okay.
interesting to see in blue.
So why do you think Simone would have a fight spell?
I'm not sure if it's her specifically fighting, but suffice it to say, there are always going to be times when you need to protect yourself. I think in this case, it's her pitting some of her own creations against each other, or her pitting her own creations against people who would want to use them for nefarious purposes. At some point, you go with, well, I'd rather it be dead than used against me.
Right. So maybe because she uses her creations to fight with them, maybe that's a little bit blue as well then.
So this is actually a card. I'm not sure if I put it into Cody yet, but I want to.
Into?
Verdant Mastery.
Cody.
Because what I like about it is that it's easily castable off of a Cody, and it has a higher mana value than what you would cast it as. Plus, it enables you to ramp into the big stuff.
Right, so this is from a cycle, of course, and then this one is the Gunmetrix one, right? So we stay a little bit in theme as well. Right.
Yeah, cool. A lot of it has been Gunmetrix. It's been between Gunmetrix and... It's interesting, they don't share any colors, but it's been between Gunmetrix and the other one.
Okay,
next
but
card is Inquisition, which is a nice one to get. Not necessarily that useful for me because I don't play Modern as much anymore. But certainly a nice one, and I think that it still has a decent price tag on it.
I think if we're talking about iconic cards for black, I think Inquisition is in a way that like Duress, and right?
Yeah, and there were some people thinking that Kozilek was on the Arcadia.
Oh, right, because of this card?
Because of this card, and because some of the colorless cards have the same formations of Kozilek there. Kozilek is also known for geometric formations, and then you have an entire grouping known for studying geometry.
Right. Okay, true. So they might be studying him anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's
probably
still true. So the story about these cards are that they are studying from other worlds. So all right, and this is...
Then last card is Heated Debate. That is the foil.
Okay,
it does 4 damage to a creature or planeswalker and can't be countered.
Right, so that's a little bit of a blue hate just at the end. So about the pack, I think I almost know the answer, but what is your favorite card from these? You don't have to say Simone, but...
I'm guessing what my favorite card is. It's going to be Simone.
Okay.
But the card that I would probably pick first, or at least be most interested in building around, would be the mascot exhibition, just to see all the different types of tokens come out there. It seems like a nice payoff for getting up to that point. I would want to see how much value I can get out of it off of things like Magecraft, because it's already a lot of value. And I also like that it doesn't put you into a particular color.
As for the art, what art do you like the most from this pack?
Well, it's gonna be Simone, hands down.
Okay.
Because of the representation, because of what it means, not just within the set, not just to that grouping, but in the face of things like the Black Lives Matter movement and learning to not be afraid of black bodies. That is important. See just a joyful, playful, intelligent girl.
Well, conversation about your channel, because I think your YouTube channel is a little bit new, right?
Yeah, it's been around for 3 weeks. This is going to be its 4th week.
What is so interesting about Oathbreaker?
But Oathbreaker to me is like the modern of multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fast enough pace where the games are over in about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Almost always has something to do, and it create. I like that there's a different space in terms of what you are building around and how you are doing it. Can allow you to build around strategies that there just isn't enough support in order to make a commander deck.
Right,
like,
because it's
for
less
some
cards.
strategy, for some strategies there just haven't been enough cards printed that support it, and so you can make a 60 card Highlander deck pretty easily. But a 100 card deck, you're going to have to put in a lot of fluff, and at that point, you start to lose what made the deck special. In Oathbreaker, you do need to have a. You're trying to play something that's breaking inherent rules of Magic, and that is sort of like a solitaire deck. So I'm going to interact with it.
If you want, get into the next pack.
Sounds good. So art card this time is just an island. Oh, nice. I thought it was a snarl, but no, it's an island.
It looks snowy or something. From who is this one?
Well, this is Adam Paquette.
Okay, cool. So a lot of lands from Adam, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, the actual one is also from Adam Paquette.
Of course.
As we're opening packs, you might as well get Paquette.
True. That's your second good joke of the day.
I'll make some more, don't worry.
Okay,
I'm an English teacher, I gotta make terrible jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, Necrotic Fumes. Nice removal spell.
Oh, right, that one. I was thinking about the swamp one that's board wide, but what does this? Oh, it's sacrifice 1 to exile a target creature, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
Pigment Storm.
Cool.
5 damage to a creature, and excess damage is dealt to the creature's controller. Nice. I actually didn't know that they made another, basically burn with trample.
Spell trample, yeah, true. And also, I think this one has the flavor of the Prismari students' projects exploding, and then these pigment storms happen a lot.
A Spectacle Mage. I've tried to put that in a couple of different places, but haven't been thrilled with it.
So it's the one that reduces the cost of really big spells, right?
Yeah, I thought it would be better than it was. I have a Rutha deck that uses giant spells and X spells, and then I use Rutha to copy them, because Rutha's effect returns her to your hand.
Cool. Another Prismari one?
Yep. Waterfall Aerialist, flying in Ward 2. So 3/1 flyer that can protect itself, which is interesting.
True. So the one toughness is less of a drawback then.
Prismari Pledge Mage.
Okay, cool. So
Defender, and then it can act so it doesn't have Defender.
It's really nice that the Prismari have such a nice, artistic color identity. So with the Spectacle Mage and the one you just drew have the same vibe around them and the same colors. So that's really nice.
Yep. Then Prismari Campus.
As well. So again, so themed. A lot of Prismari cards here.
Campus Guide. I'm happy it's a Golem because I actually have a Golem tribal deck. Mortality Spear.
Okay, so another little bit of a... Sorry?
I feel like I just put this into something. I might have, actually. I just can't remember what.
So
if I did put it into something, it's probably Sidisi Geruda. Mana permanent, which is also really nice. It's an uncommon, hits a non-land permanent. I like seeing some of those effects that were previously hard to get being printed at common and uncommon, because those are the things that make the format more accessible. Double Major. I don't know if I put that into the Sidisi Geruda deck, but if not, that'd be an interesting thing to think about.
Double Mage, so what does it do again?
Copy a creature spell you control, except it isn't legendary. If the spell is legendary. So I
Okay.
put Gyruda on the stack, and then I double major to make 2 Gyrudas.
Okay.
So look at the
Oh,
top 3
cool.
cards. You reveal a creature or land from among them, put it in your hand.
Right. I like the art here.
I like the art. I don't play with the card that much, though.
Mhm.
Hall Monitor, because Monitor is also a name of a type of lizard.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Cool.
Yep, so that's
So
a pun that
as
they were making.
a history teacher, you must like the Laurel school as well, right?
Yeah, one of the decks I built was Quintorius.
Mhm.
Quintorius was one of the examples I like to use when people are talking about, well, we don't like white, or white isn't very good, or white doesn't ramp.
Mhm.
What I do, because in that deck, I took the white core synergy of putting lands in hand rather than putting them on the battlefield like green does.
Mhm.
And I use the extra planes in hand to have fodder to discard to the rummage effects in red.
Oh,
So
you do
I
still
have
keep
whites. I have white's ramp working with red's card draw to sort of offset the problems that they each have.
Interesting.
And then I use some cards to play lands from graveyards. White with land tax effects and tithe and all those like not the original tithe that finds planes.
Mhm.
Gifts of estates.
So from these 4 flavor, from the flavor side, what card do you like the most?
Well, I mean, from the flavor side, I have to go with the Hall Monitor because I love the pun.
Okay. All right. Cool. Nice. I mean, you were making some great jokes before, so that fits.
Yep.
Mhm. And for the art, maybe is there something else that you mostly like?
I love the Spectacle Mage. I just can't find a place for it.
Okay.
The card that I would pick from this pack, if this was like the first pack I was seeing, would
Mhm.
probably be the Mortality Spear.
Right, because it's good removal.
Yeah, and it hits any non-land permanent, so it's a way to get rid of troublesome enchantments or artifacts that otherwise could be difficult. I could certainly see myself trying to make like a Jeskai Flyer stack.
Right, so you would put white in it as well for the flyers?
Yeah, I would try to get the ink-related cards that have flying from that grouping.
Right, and then only put white in it for those Inkling cards. And why then not the area list? Because that's a cool flyer too.
It is. I'm not sure necessarily how that works with the other cards I'd want to put into the deck. But Spectacle Mage makes it easier for me to cast the higher mana value cards and makes it more likely that I'm going to trigger Magecraft, which is big within Prismari colors.
All right, but
Yeah.
If you want as well, we can go to the last pack.
So there is an Elemental token by Elena Danner.
Okay, cool. I think there are multiple versions of those.
Dragon Guard Elite is the art card, which is interesting because I just put that into a deck and I very much enjoy it. But I do enjoy it. I have a deck I call the One Punch deck. It's Dosan the Falling Leaf as the commander. Dosan says 2/2 for 3. Players can only cast spells on their own turn. So what I do is cast Dosan, and then when I know that nobody can remove them, use a bunch of giant growth effects and just blast somebody out of nowhere.
Okay, that's cool. So Giant Growth, of course, one of the more evergreen cards.
I like taking those iconic cards and using them in different ways. So in this case, giant growth effects are used. Giant growth effects is also the new card for green XX, double its power that many times.
Like
that's a
exponential
one-shot
growth,
kill
I
for
think.
someone, something like that. But it's a one-shot kill with with that deck.
Cool, nice for someone.
Ionestero is the author, is the artist behind that mountain.
Right, so Laurel Mountain then.
Fractal summoning. I love X spells. Just in general, I like pouring everything you have into an X spell and just doing crazy stuff with it. So
Can be as big as you want.
Yep. Another Spiteful Swab.
Okay, cool. So another one
And
for the
another-
0/0 treble. Another Arrogant Poet as well.
Yep.
Mhm.
Another Silver Quill Campus. I think I got one of those earlier as well.
In the same pack. Yeah, true.
Yep. Silver Quill Pledge Mage.
All right.
When you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, it gains your choice of flying or lifelink until the end of the turn. So this is what I meant by I would want to make a Jeskai Flyers deck, because I can use this for just one white. It gains your choice of flying or lifelink, so I like that it can be a defensive card if I need it to be. But also that when I mentioned why I would pick the blue-red creature that reduces the cost rather than the mono-blue creature that doesn't interact with that. Silver Quill Pledge Mage is an example of a flying creature with Magecraft that I would want to enable.
I think the art is cool too, where the light is so dim and it's really focused on the mage.
Focus on the mage, and then just out of the center of the picture is the weird orb in the hand, which is cool. Owl and a Shield Mage. I love seeing the Avens as owls. All right, next card is Tend the Pests.
All right, cool one. So some combos with it.
Yep, sack creature, and you make X. The little guys, the pests.
Right. With this card, there are some 4 mana 11/10s or something like that that you can sack to this as well, and then you will get like 11 pests. Not really a complicated combo or anything, but usually the 4 mana 11/10s let you sacrifice a creature or force you to sacrifice a creature every turn. So if you use this on that, you will get 11 pests for just 6 mana over 2 turns. So that's it.
This is a creature I hadn't seen before.
Oh, that one, I think. Right? So it's a 7/6, this one.
Yeah, Demogoth Woe Eater.
Right.
Whenever you have to keep sack a creature, when you sack Demogoth, each opponent discards a card, you draw a card, and you gain 2 life.
Right. So it works really well with Tend the Pests. I think that was what I was thinking about.
It can. I like that that it has low mana value, high power, so that you can use it with the scavenge ability. Verils. So high power for the scavenge, low cost. Next up is Semester's End.
Okay, cool. This one really lets me think about the Throne of Eldraine one.
The enchantment that wins if you control a permanent of each column of it? Something like that.
Yeah.
I've wanted to... So whenever somebody proposes, like, it sends triplets a mean commander, I would say, if you're playing Sends Triplets, you need to play that card from Eldraine Happily Ever After.
Yeah, that card, exactly. So Semester's End is a 4 mana instant that says exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of the next end step, return each of them to the battlefield. Each of them enters the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it if it's a creature, and an additional loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker. Okay, cool. So this one is one of the saving all my creature cards, right?
Which can be a nice way to get around wraths, or removal spells, or even things like blowouts. And speaking of combat tricks,
Gunmetrix
Helix.
deals
Helix.
damage, right?
Deals 3 damage to any target, you gain 3 life. It's a nice combat trick.
So why is it a combat trick to you?
Block, kill your guy, or so basically anything like that. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll use these things before combat because damage doesn't wipe away until end of turn.
So that they won't block.
So I'll do something like Lightning Helix your guy and then attack and offer trades with the lowered toughness.
Okay, I like how you see Lightning Helix as a combat trick.
It's also going to trigger Magecraft at instant speed. Last card is a nice new card for white. I like that they're working with white at the common and uncommon level. What you do is 2/1, you just chump block something, and then return it later.
Exactly. So that does work with the Quintorius deck as well, of course.
Yeah, it is a nice repeated source of removing things from the graveyard for Quintorius.
So from this pack, what is your favorite one from maybe all of the packs together? Maybe you can make it top 3.
Well, Simone was first, Fractal Summon second.
Okay.
Third's probably going to be the Demogoth Woe Eater because I haven't seen it before.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I really like talking with you through these packs as well. So lastly, can you tell me a little bit, or the viewers, what is going on in your life? Do you have something that you would like to advertise or would like people to know about?
Well, I have the YouTube channel, which you can get to at bit. Like I bite something, I bit it. Mm-hmm. So bit.ly/Unsummoned Skull, because I didn't want people to have to keep typing in the stuff.
Right.
So that's my YouTube channel. I have.
You're right.
That one we talk about different tribes that people like, why they like them, what the tribe means to them.
Cool. So I see a little bit of goblins, slivers, shrines even.
Yep, different kinds of basically anything that can be tribal we have.
And also you have a Twitch, right?
Yep. So my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Unsummoned Skull. That's where you can see a lot of what's going to wind up becoming videos early.
So yeah, I hope that people can find you and all the links, but I will put those in the description as well, of course. And well, if you watched, then thank you for watching and have a nice day.